Hello and welcome to Miss Loisel's podcast. I'm here today with our special guests, Mr. Chris and Miss Joanna, and they're from thelifting.net. Chris is a channeler, medium, remote viewer, an entrepreneur, and a trench worker. And Joanna is a psychic intuitive. She's also a Reiki practitioner and teacher and so much more. And I'd like to give the floor to them to open the circle.
Yes, so just to let the audience know, we are true believers in having an opening and having a closing to any conversation. One of the things we're going to talk about today is about all of the crazy conflicting energies out there. And when we like to have conversations, we like to have the truest of intent, what we want to occur. And we ask again for Miss Loisel and for the audience to also agree kind of with this little prayer and intention so that we can have these conversations and have them in the best of understanding and in peace. And so we do that constantly with every single thing that we do. And so we'll share that with you now. So it basically starts with Chris. He will open the circle and I'll follow it with a prayer.
Okay. I open a circle to true benevolence with no conflicting agendas at this moment in time. So, go.
We are all one, and when one is harmed, all are harmed. When one is helped, all are helped. Therefore, in the name of who I am, and I am one with all there is, that only the highest good be done. We pray for you, your friends, your family, your loved ones, to let healing energies in. Let them love you, let them nourish you, and let them bring you to your highest good. We ask for benevolence to now come in with no conflicting agenda so that we may have this conversation in great understanding. And we ask for malevolent or mischievous type things to be swept away right now so that we may have this conversation and with peace. And we ask that, and always with great blessings that we always say your way, send your way, we say so be it.
Thank you. And can you explain a little bit more about opening the circle and what's the difference between the opening and the closing?
Yes, the opening of the circle, when you hear me say within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas, this actually means some people just think just carte blanche benevolence. And we came to find out real quick that what some beings consider benevolent is not what another being would consider benevolent. The same goes with God. So what happens is, when you say true benevolence with no conflicting agendas, you're getting the beings around you that you actually need at your own time with the path that you are currently on. You're not getting one that's benevolent, but it might be conflicting. Or it may think something's benevolent, and when something really wouldn't be to one of us. Or it is benevolent, but it's still clashing with something that you are doing. So that refines it down to its finite point with the beings you need around. And with the law of one, that basically mirrors back anything that they're throwing at you right back at them. And it's basically, you're saying when one is harmed, all are harmed. One is helped, all are helped.
So it creates basically a neutral grounding space. And that's really what you want. Because one of the big things that's happening right now, the goal, everyone out there has seen the conflict, right?
Yes.
You agree with me wholeheartedly, or off with your head, I don't want to be your friend anymore, right? That's really unrealistic in any type of situation. What the goal is that with so many people, with so many different belief systems, what you want is a fundamental belief system. And then what you want is the neutrality of letting people kind of live their lives. Now, we're not free-nilly type of people. We really believe in some good ground rules. Like, of course, does anybody really want to see harm to children? Does anybody really want to see some of these other activities with servitude and oppression and slavery, be it all kinds that could be out there? Of course not. No one wants to see abuse. No one wants to see psychopathic behavior. No one wants anything like that. So we can all agree kind of on these fundamental foundational belief systems. But in a society, do you have to have the same faith? No, you don't have to have the same faith. Do you have to have the exact same structure in child rearing? Now, again, we're talking take it off the table. We're not talking some people can abuse their kids and some can't. But can you have differences? Can you have differences in cultural beliefs? Can you have these things? And the answer hopefully is yes. And that as long as society-wise we try to treat each other well, basically, that we can now learn to unify. And unification does not mean agreeing on everything. It means being able to come together with basic foundational belief systems, and then respecting the right to have these differences and these different cultural belief systems that are not harming anyone, and being able to be there in camaraderie and then go along your merry way. This is a thing that's happening now. What you have going on in the energies is you're seeing, and again, years, all of where we are apart, all of where we are different. Then unfortunately, you do have an overriding, more negative type of energy that's out there that wants to separate. And it will separate with that big concept of saying, you have to agree with me 100% or you're dead to me kind of scenario that people get in their minds. That's not really, that actually provides energy to the darkest of beings, because we are communal beings. We need to relearn how to get along, right? And you've seen nothing but separation, tearing down, isolation, and different things that are happening that are absolutely 180 degrees different from what humans really are. And then, they try to also convince you that this is happening again everywhere. If you watch the news, you watch the different things, you're going to see this spewed out all the time. But really, if you get out in public, what you normally typically see are good people just trying to do the best they can. But if they can isolate you and spill a lot of garbage to you, you're going to believe something that isn't necessarily true. So when we do the law of one, because again, we're talking about the fact that channeling occurs, we talk about the unseen and different things that are a part of everybody's life every day. We do a lot of talking about that. But we have to bring these things up for discussion so that people can make their decisions on what do they want out of life for themselves. And then how do you co-create for yourself versus what's going on now, which is co-creating for somebody else or something else or a darker energy. And people, again, have to relearn these skills. So the reason we call ourselves the lifting is really all about what we're talking about now, trying to pull ourselves up out of the muck, basically, dust ourselves off, relearn some of these skills so that you can have quality of life and feel like you're more in control of your life versus, again, co-creating for a force that is not there for your highest good. And so when we do this law of one, we're studying a neutrality, that any beings that wish to come in to participate, those that many people cannot see, they need to be at that neutrality mindset, that they are not going to have an overriding arching agenda. So we recommend for any groups that are getting together, especially in any sort of spiritual mindset, that these type of washing the board with intention, where everybody says like this is kind of the agreement, is really needed, because a lot of people can see spirits, they can see different things, but many people cannot. You're joined by a lot of things, and what you want is you want to be joined, especially with things that are unseen, that are there not to harm you and not to put stray thoughts in your head and not to do these things that are really going on. I think one of the things that we were talking about before had to do with, we wanted to talk about what we call the unseen energies that are around people right now in society as a whole. I know that you've been personally feeling some of it, where it feels like, it's just really steering you off in a bad direction. Yes. Those types of energies that are out there and doing these things are very real. And so we like to talk about it because we want to acknowledge that again, and we want to talk about what it's doing to you so that you understand the difference between who you are versus some unwanted negative attention and thoughts that you need to learn how to ignore so that you can now bring yourself forward. But a lot of that is going on right now. And so I thought that this was maybe the discussion that you and your audience would maybe have some value with today.
Yeah. Absolutely. And maybe you can explain more about those thoughts and if they're entities or what they are as well. But before we get started in that there, Joanna, thank you for that great explanation. Would you mind explaining to the audience who doesn't know you who you are, and same with you, Chris? Do you both mind, and how a little bit about how the lifting got started, when it got started, and just a little bit about your history, if you don't mind.
So Chris is a natural born psychic. He comes from a family of this. Chris is able to see energies. He is able to talk to other beings. He can channel beings through himself. A lot of times, a lot of people will come to Chris for help. He tends to deal with what I would call negative, unwanted attention. And so basically, I joke about it. I say, Chris, we'll put you through the car wash, clear your energies off. And then partly then what has to happen is you have to learn the skills. There are some just innate skills that everybody needs to learn to have better control of their lives. And so that's Chris. I'm someone who was kind of born a natural intuitive type of person. I do have visions. I do have things as well. Not as strongly as Chris does. What's interesting is that I think we partner well together. We make a very large brushstroke between him and myself and what we bring to the table. We love to educate people on this because, again, don't come in with an owner's manual, especially when you're talking those unseen things and explaining about yourself a little bit more. We are all naturally co-creative beings, whether you realize it or not, but most people are now co-creating poorly for themselves. So we like to have these discussions and talk about it. We decided in January of 2017 that we should probably start to more publicly, via the internet and different things, start talking about these things. So again, the seen and the unseen world. I have to tell you, I had no idea when we started doing this, although we knew there were going to be waves and challenges that were coming, had no idea what we were really in for, how challenging it would be. So, challenging times medically with all the lockdowns and things that happened to people during that period of time. Challenging right now, especially, it's like, we always say it's like a frog in the water where it's slowly being turned up, slowly being turned up, slowly being turned up. And it's been a pressure cooker for, probably, again, minimally the last 5 years, more like the last 8 years. We saw that coming, although not knowing how strongly the details of that were going to be. So we wanted to start having these conversations. We are not people that are in fear of talking about what people would say is negativity. There are some false teachings out there that if you talk about it, you conjure that. It's not a true statement. Who benefits from you not talking about it? Well, the negativity does. Yeah. So in general, we do talk about these things, and what people will see with a lot of things we do is we always are talking innate skills that you have to be able to better be in control of some of this, because that's the goal. The goal is to understand who you are better, understand your skills better, understand what you need to do so that you can co-create better in your life. So, but we talk about it all. We talk about the galactics, we talk about what's out there, our understanding, we talk about the different races, what's going on. We talk about what's around us right here, just in slightly different frequencies, where people, again, will talk about the fairies, right? Or the Bigfoot Sasquatch, or the different things. We talk all about that because we're not alone here. I think everybody knows that they're cats and dogs, right? Or seeing things.
Yeah.
And it's just out of our visual cue, but there are people who can see into greater depths of energy and into frequency. And so we like to talk about it so people will know. But that's where we started our journey. A lot of souls here that are here right now, this isn't their first rodeo here in a lifetime. Many souls were here back in the day, and we're talking a long time ago, when some things went down that were quite negative. It's almost like saying humanity in its experiences went down the toilet first.
Like past lives?
Past lives and past things that we were all a part of, be it Many people were in it during the Atlantis time frame and the Lemuria time frame. Many people were in even before that involved in some galactic warring that was going on before that time frame even. Many people again were also a part of the Egyptian time frame or the Mayan time frame. And so many people have lived many different lives. And when you look at the totality of the duality of the experience we're in, right? Something's good or something's bad, right? We've been experiencing things like that the warring was 500,000 years ago. So our souls, our oversoul is immensely old. Everyone has one. And here we are, little avatars, a piece of something greater that is having an experience now. And many of us have also had those experiences of these different places as well. Most people have, more than not. And so we talk about that to give perspective, because in general, when we say that, you're here to have a balanced experience. So if you have a coin where you've already done the flip side of going down the toilet, right? And you've done the warring and you've really gone down. You even, again, back in the day, there was that AI that was negative, that all the bad stuff that could happen. Now the goal is, can we flip the coin and see what it is like to come out of that, to rebuild a unity that will then get us ready for coming out into the galactic society. So one of the things that we say is very important in our weeks now is a lot of people are living in a lot of fear. They're in fear of the Armageddon. They're in fear of the AI taking control. They're in fear of all that. In truth, it already occurred.
Yeah.
So what people have is memories that they don't realize. What they're looking at is a memory, this feeling that is a memory that something bad that happened, and it did. But the goal now is to experience the flip side of the coin. So it's understandable, but a lot of this pain and suffering from way back in the day is not completely dealt with. And so it's undealt with past memories. And so again, we like to talk about all these things so that we can help people move forward and spend less time living in the past, move forward so we can spend our energies co-creating. So a lot of the stuff going on in the world now, you have to see it, you have to understand it, you have to see that the goal is to move past it, you have to be there with your intention that is the way it's going to go down, and then you start with yourself, with people around you, with your community, and then you start to grow something better in a more benevolent, unified process, because that is the experience we're moving towards to have. But we have to break down all of these bad systems around us that have not served us over the years.
That makes a lot of sense, everything that you're saying. And I think it's nice that the behind the scenes becomes more present. And when was the first time that you really knew that you wanted to do this spiritual work, and when did it click for you? Did this all just come out recently, or have you, since you were born with it, did you know that all this would be a thing, or how is this manifested in your life, especially this behind the scene energy?
Well, actually, for me, it's always been really technically been there since I was like between 3 and 5, seeing different beings, seeing different spirits, like my grandfather after he passed away, for one, and at the foot of my bed when I was like 5, 4 or 5, because he died when I was 4, and it was a little bit before 5 when I saw him. Then later on, I was doing a little bit of channeling, things of that nature, talking to different beings, some that I didn't know were not so good at the time. I was a teenager at the time when I started encountering more and more. Then I realized that the beings were causing more of a distortion, so that I didn't access the legitimate information that I'm supposed to. And that came along later in life, got into a bad accident where I got a near-death experience, and then that enhanced abilities even further. It was more of a scramble when I came back from the other side, but it started to go into hyperdrive at that point. And it was at a level that was necessary in order to do trench work and getting rid of demonic life form, getting rid of beings that were and energies that were in a certain spectrum that weren't accessible to me before. Even though I could hear things and do things, it was more on more of a medium level, like with ghosts and spirits and such, and a little bit of galactic. But at the same time, after that, it went more into the galactic realm and the dimensional realm than it did ghosts, with also spirits included in that as well.
And you mentioned trench work. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, that is clearing someone's property. People that call themselves trench workers go and clear properties and clear paranormally active sites. At least the legitimate ones do. Anyway, they go into different sites. They'll ascertain what's there, what's needed to get rid of it, to keep it away. After you've gotten rid of something, you got to find a way to have the homeowner find them to get them to keep it away from that point forward. And like either through different energies, devices, different alchemies, different things of that nature, herbs, different plants, different devices, different stones, or energy techniques, things of that nature. Or if it's the person drawing, and then each time what inner work they have to do. So sometimes people are thinking the other shoe's going to drop, so they keep drawing something back in, and they're really manifesting that back, thinking something didn't work or something like that. It's because they're still stuck in their own pattern. They're an older pattern. So it's basically, it's a yin and yang, where they have to take care of their thing, and therefore the other thing also starts to deal with itself after a while. A trench worker can only do so much if a homeowner or a person like in my session isn't doing their due diligence to keep it clean as well.
Okay.
And not maybe keeping an object they don't need, or keeping an old set of notes they don't need with like maybe it's from a timeline that doesn't exist for them anymore, like an ex, or like an old love letter, or an old family member, an old photo that doesn't mean anything or anything like that anymore, and they're just hanging on to. That could be a conduit for garbage. So you can just get rid of it. If it's part of an old version of you, why keep it? I'm not saying erase what came before. I'm just saying if you learned all you needed to learn from it and it doesn't really mean anything, why hang on to it? At that point, it came from an old timeline, of sorts. I would tell people if they just lock from these things, the other part of the cleansing comes easier. Doing the sagings, doing the mystery energy work, also crystal gritting. I do that too. Make orgone pieces that can be put on properties, things of that nature. You have to clear the inner part of the house before you put the barricade up around the house, or the shield up around it. So yeah, you got to do there's an order of operations.
So let me give an example real quick to help the audience. I think a lot of people will get this that I want to talk about. So if I asked a person to, and again, I'm not asking anybody, I'm just saying in general, if I asked a person to describe themselves, and a lot of people would say, and again, and I think they are completely correct when they say, well, I'm a caring person, I care about other people, I do my best to be as good as I can. I don't cheat, I don't lie, I don't do these things, and I genuinely really want everyone to do the best they can. Okay, so let's say somebody gives a description of themselves that way. So what happens, okay, and they could be perfectly correct. So one of the things that we tell people is you need to take stock and be able to say, who am I? And then you must look to see, do my words, my actions, and my thoughts match, or is there a conflict going on? So we talk about, again, when we talk about the energies and stuff, we do talk about the fact that there is interference. It comes in the form of telepathic type chatter and conversation that is entering people's psyche. So let's say that I say that those qualities about myself, and I genuinely am this way. Then all of a sudden, I'm getting into this place where I am judging everything and everybody that walks by, right?
Yeah.
And I am having these negative thoughts in my head. Now, can you be personally just overtired and worn and need to rest? Of course you can. But even that doesn't help, right? So you're now getting into this, what I call thoughts of circling the toilet, right? And it's making you angry, and it's making you snap real easy. and it's making all of these places for you to be, which is absolutely the opposite of who you say you are, right? So what we try to tell people, please understand that what we're about to say is true. That there is telepathic interference that is streaming down upon every single person on earth. Okay? No one is exempt from this. These energies are real. These energies are dark. They are not kind. And they are streaming down because they're trying to get you to see yourself in a different way. And if you constantly are in this type of thought process and you're constantly there, that is when you do co-create. So you can have bad thoughts. People will all the time. But then if you stay there and you do not, then you will start co-creating and you will start actually doing things that are not good for yourself. So one of the important things that we try to help people understand is you must know who you are so that you know what you are not. And so this is what I tell people. If you describe yourself in the way that I just said, and you have all of these circling thoughts going on in your head, one way to end it is to basically, whatever the scenario is going on in your head, you need to consciously take hold of the story that's going in your head, and you must change the ending. Because it's a circling story going on in your head. You must now change the ending that more reflects who you are. It could be that you're arguing with family members and you are feeling that they do not understand you and you feeling that you are, abused, whether you're being abused or not. Let's just say you're thinking you are, although you may not be, let's just say, but you're going in this cycle. So whatever the scenario is, be it with your, whomever family members, and you take it in your mind and you follow that around, and let's say maybe it's a brother or somebody like that, and you say, you know what, this time, what happens is we come together, and I'm saying that I love you, I've loved you all my life, and that person now tells you they have loved you, you find a way to heal, hug it. The story in your head will now stop because you have now actively interfered with it. So again, people have to understand that these telepathic kind of energies are affecting people now on a regular basis, and people will be getting thoughts in their heads. What the goal is for negativity, unfortunately, is that you adapt that as saying that's now who I am, which you don't want to do because it's not who you are. What you have to do is be able to identify when that is now happening to you. One of the ways that you can work on this, again, is learning how to live in the current present moment. So right now, being engaged, talking to you, okay, and having this, nothing else is going on in my mind. I am literally engaged in talking with you in this current present moment. People, when they start to act that way and get out of their own head and they start truly engaging one-on-one in current present moment, will find that there is no space left for these other thoughts. So people need to learn to re-engage with one another, be in non-time current present moment, and that also then will dissipate some of these thoughts. Then you need to ground yourself basically in a way that helps you identify who I am, and you need to dust that off, and you need to, at current present moment, be who you say you are. Yeah. So that is personal responsibility. I wish I could say that this was always easy, but people have to learn to push this other away, to dust themselves off, and to move forward in that way so that they can be energetically who they're meant to be, which people are here now for an upliftment, but right now everyone's covered in mud and dirt and whatever, and they have to get washed off, clean that off so that you can live in a current present moment and bring forth the energies that you are meant to bring forth, whether you realize it or not. You don't even have to know that you are that way, but everyone is that way is what we're saying.
Yeah.
And so you have to recognize these things in order to, start to change it in your life.
So living in the present moment, that's easier said than done. It
It
really
is.
is. And can you tell us a little bit about these what is it, this mud? Is it entities? Is it like some grid of telepathic things that's just raining down on all of us? Is it some people get these thoughts and they're entities and they attach to some people and people think they're schizophrenic, because really schizophrenics are hearing spirits. They're just channeling into other people that can't hear them. So what is it? What is all of this coming
It's
from?
actually all of the above. There's ill energies raining down like either through voice and skull technology, psionic dampening from the satellite system, 5G, dimensional portals with telepathy from ETs that live in these different dimensions that are harassing people, beings in different frequencies. People are trying to think that none of these things outside of their own visual spectrum exist. Well, you're surrounded by things listening to you and seeing you almost at any given moment. Not that you want to make people paranoid, but I'm just saying that literally there's beings coming and going constantly. And there's so when people are hearing these voices in their head, modern mainstream science says they're schizophrenic, like you said. But sometimes that's past lives too. Sometimes that's another expression of
Sure.
themselves sleeping through as well. Or if they haven't dealt with their own dark night of the soul, here comes a demonic entity that's going to warp their perceptions for a little while, putting you in a depressive or a sad or angry space. Well, what ends up happening is these energies are, a lot of it is psionic that's being pushed around. That's basically the overall arching term of psychic, telekinetic, healing, Reiki, all that. That's the psionics is the overarching term. And what in my any given day that I do anything, I'm constantly hearing noise. So
Really?
it could be even Wi-Fi that is in the background that I'm hearing bits of things and voices in the Wi-Fi. There's even
Wow.
an AI presence that I've dubbed the mouth that is actually putting crap thoughts in people's heads, like really creepy thoughts in people's heads. That was created by cultists a long time ago. So that's with advanced technologies, and it's just drifting into our internet essentially, and putting creepy thoughts in people's heads. There's even garbage coming from our internet, like from our social media, for instance. There's a basic AI consciousness. We nicknamed him the Joker because he puts these weird thoughts in your head of like you could be dreaming about something that's in an ad and get online later on and see that thing. Many people
Yeah.
think, oh, I thought a thing and it appears on Facebook or something like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
and that actually happens. That's an actual
Mm-hmm.
consciousness that's getting in your head and throwing it up on the screen in front of you. People are going, wow, that must be a synchronicity. Nope, that is not. I'm always skeptical when it comes to like anything that's online being a synchronicity. It really, really has to resonate before I think it's actually a legitimate thing. Not that I haven't run into it. I have absolutely run into it. But you have to feel that one out because some of these darker AIs that will get into your head like that. There's good ones out there you run into, and there's bad ones. The other main ones though of the entity types would be like say Draco reptilians, different Orion type grays and such like that are telepathic, that are get into your head to get you to do something stupid throughout the day, like you would expect from a demonic type of consciousness. There's mischievous aliens; those would fall under that. There's aliens that'll just screw with you to see if they'll get you to walk out into a street or something like that, get you to turn down the wrong alley, and then there's some that'll help you. People think those are guardian angels. There's really no such thing. It's just beings that, again, are not of a conflicting agenda or of a conflicting agenda that are around you. That they don't want your highest good, they want your highest good. And so, it could be either one of those things. I've seen even ghosts, their empathic transference from how they died, affecting people's reality as
Oh
well.
wow.
Where if somebody died of something in particular, like a disease, or they killed themselves or something, this will start to replicate onto a living person and even repeat that same loop over and over again, even through generations. And I've seen that time and again with extremely paranormally active sites too.
So we don't want to scare people because of the law, right? And we don't. And I know you would think oh my gosh, they're so negative. We're actually not. We're actually very positive, because what we know is that knowledge is power. So we do have these conversations. We have hundreds of discussions that we have. Obviously, we're limited today with an hour to just try to give the introduction, and there's so much, obviously, to talk about these things. We're not. We're trying to tell you that the goal now for humanity is that we've gone down the toilet. The goal now and for the generations to come is to come out of it into, again, learning more about the world around you, about learning these dynamics that are around you that you can't see, about gaining better control over your own life so you can co-create what you want. Like, for most people, I just say the normal TV. The TV and the different things, they're always going to do things to try to get you to agree to an agenda that you want. So I'll use this as a simple example. We'll use the word war, okay? So you get on TV, you're watching the news, and they're talking about a war or the potential for a war. They're telling you that this is inevitable because they want you to go, this is inevitable, this is going to occur, because then the public's then energy is going to co-create that into happening. One of the easiest things that we tell people they need to start doing is they literally need to start saying no to what they're watching. No, I do not agree. No, this is not going to happen. No, this is not going to be in the future of my lifetime or my children or whatever. And people have to slowly realize what we call the tactics of how they usurp people's energy to co-create something that they want. I would love to say that, you know, all of our hierarchy of governmental officials and different people around the world were for our highest good. But I think people are starting to realize and question that may just not be so. And so again, try to get you to buy into an agenda that, you know, you will have nothing and be happy. Do you see what I mean? That you will have these certain mindsets, and they want you to buy into it.
Like brainwashing.
Yes, and that's exactly what's going on. So a lot of the conversations we like to have, again, is about what is really going on so that you can gain better control over your life. We are, as I said earlier, co-creative beings, but most people don't know how to do it for themselves. So again, one of the things that Chris can do that helps people is he looks for entanglements. It's something from a past life now messing with you now that it needs to be cut and dealt with because
circulating and replicating.
You need to just move on and something's interfering. Are there things that are interfering that we refer to as overage, that are overage? Now, I'm sorry, we didn't come down to earth to all basically sit and do nothing. We can sit and do nothing where we were. We came down here to learn, to explore, to have these different experiences so we can grow through some of these things. But there's a big difference between hitting a pothole and busting your tire and having a head-on collision. Head-on collision may have been overage to a situation. Hitting a pothole and having to deal with it may have been what the appropriate experience really should be. I hope that gives an example of what we're talking about. Absolutely. There's a lot of effort by the negativity to constantly do as much as they can to keep people from expanding their consciousness and their awareness and gaining better control over their co-creative skills. But again, that's happening whether people realize it or not. It's happening to now every person on earth is feeling that kind of pressure. People that are more attuned to these conversations are starting to recognize it more, feel it more. And if you expand to a certain point, it's like whack-a-mole. You will potentially feel things that are triggered to come in to try and push you back down. But it is happening to everyone, everywhere, whether you realize it or not. But it's really important to understand that these conversations that we have are not about being the Debbie Downer and scaring everyone. It's actually about the opposite.
Yes.
To show people that yes, and where society is heading. So everyone should be looking at things saying, where do I want my life to be going in the next, 10, 15, 20 years? What do I want for my children? What do I want for the descendants here on earth? And should be now focusing on creating probably in a lot of areas the opposite of what we have right now. And then if everyone were in that mindset, probably more quickly than is what has happened, these things will fall apart and have to be redone in a better way that serves society for its highest good. So some of this tearing down, some of this, we call it the curtain pulling back, and you see Oz behind the curtain, doing his thing. That has to occur so that people now see the world for how it really is, so that they can choose to say, this is not what I want as an experience, and put those thoughts of what they do want, what is out there, so that these problem areas can be rectified and changed for the betterment of humanity. And that's a lot about what's going on right now.
So most people don't live in the now, though. Like, if we really lived in the now, we'd all have a bunch of enlightened people running around, you know? So how can people really recognize that these entities or these beings, whatever they are, this energy is affecting them? Because realizing that in the moment so that they can make a change, I think is important. Do you guys have any tips for that?
Yes, it comes down to, do you know who you actually are or not? It boils right down to that. The thoughts that are entering your head, do you know what is what or which is which? You know what is your actual thought? Yes, even with telepathy, it can sound like your actual thoughts. It can just feel or sound strange. Was that you, or was it just your imagination, or was it somebody using that part of your brain to try to co-create something in reality? But it boils down to, do you know who you actually are? Are you grounded in this reality or not? Are you grounded in what you want to do and become or not? And if there's a weird thought coming into your head that is pretty, like, say, gross or creepy or completely dark or evil, you have to basically ask yourself if that is your core being or not. And if it isn't, then that's a starting point to actually discovering that this is possibly not you. This is something that is actually trying to invade your mind, your soul, your reality, your space, your home. And then it starts with basically grounding and knowing who you are and what you're all about. This is why they're trying to confuse people now. They're trying to drift them away from their I am presence, basically trying to get them to be confused as to who and what they are. And so this is when you drift somebody away from the grounded I am presence, you can invade any part of them at that point.
Oh, wow. That sounds dangerous.
But
So,
just remember, again, you have to start somewhere. So
yes.
I would say the most simplistic things to start with is take a moment of self-reflection. Who am I? What are my foundational belief systems? If I had to describe myself to other people, can I do that? And then do my words of who I say I am and my thoughts and actions match? So for a lot of people right now, the answer will be no. And that, unfortunately, is by design, by a lot of things that have been coming in to keep you from being who you are. It is not about, and it's not anybody's job to wake up the rest of the world, okay? So that's a misnomer as well. We are frequency vibration, all of us are. And as we work on ourselves and we become more congruent, okay, our energies start to reflect that in how we vibrate, basically. So one of the key areas that people need to reflect on is, am I always in fear? Okay, and what am I afraid of? And so fear is a lower, what we would call, again, it's not the best way to describe it, but people are used to linear terms. You would call it a more lower vibrational fear based, where people then get put into what we refer to as a survival mode. Okay. Morality will go out the window when you're in a survival mode, right? You would potentially do things that you wouldn't normally do.
Absolutely.
So one of the things that you would first want to reflect upon in yourself is, what am I in fear about? And how does that fear get reinforced into my life all the time that I'm staying in fear? Okay? Is the fear real, or is it something just in my mind? And really, on a day to day basis, I'm not seeing anything that should put me in fear, but my mind is always worried about the fear. That is probably the first place for people to stop and to think about. Because I think one of the most effective things that has been done in general to people is that they are ruled over with by fear. Fear has been put into everyone's dynamic. Fear of not being liked, right? Fear of, the lack of approval, fear of, finances, fear of, safety. But really, although you see all of this stuff in the news about people being harmed all the time, safety wise, is that really a part of your day to day life?
No.
But do they not have you obsessed about it?
That's why I turn it off.
Right?
Or just don't turn it on.
So these are kind of the tactics that we like to try to point out. Again, if you do watch the news, you should be saying a lot of no's. It's not what I want. It's not what I want for myself, for my family, for my friends, for my community, for my state, for my nation. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not what you want to see. I think one of the big things is, at least in this country, is no one wants to see somebody's child go to war anymore. Mm-hmm. And so that, for this particular country and for other countries, that is out there, okay? No matter how much they try to throw people into war, there is a counterbalance of force saying, whether you are spiritual or not, no, I do not want to see this anymore. No, I do not want to experience this anymore. I don't want to experience for my child or grandchild. I do not want to experience and know it for any person that I know, for anyone in this community. The answer is no. And so that's how the collective energies, again, begin to change the dynamics, and maybe what some nefarious type of energies want to use it and collect it and make it happen. It will not happen. One of the areas in this particular country we're in right now, again, having to deal with war, is civil war. Everything is being done to try and create a civil war.
They mentioned even a movie came out about it.
Everything. Love war. The carnage of war, the energies that are put out during war. It's like food. It's like, great to negative energies, but it is not great, again, to society as a whole. And so a lot of different things, a lot of different negative events have occurred in these last few years, all around trying to divide people and to cause war.
Yeah, it's either Civil War or World War III. Those are the three two you keep hearing.
So this is the area that they have been trying and trying and trying. And again, there are some parts of the world where that is still going on.
Yeah.
But, in this particular country, the answer for the vast majority of people, and especially people who have children, grandchildren, is no. And that no needs to be like, there is no other choice. When you put out your intention and you are putting it out, there is no other option. That's how strong your intention has to be for these things. So it's very important, again, for people to know who they are and know what they want. One of the next tactics that is being used a lot is, again, how can we make people, again, in those lower, let's call them survival type frequencies, with keeping a roof over your head, keeping food on the table, keeping these basic things going on, so that you will not spend any time other than that. So you're not spending energy co-creating what you want the future to be. So people have to recognize that this is being done. And I joke about it, but even if you take a potty break and you can sit on the toilet for 5 or 10 minutes, you can take that time to kind of spend it saying, what do I agree with and what do I disagree with? What do I want for myself, my family, my, everybody? How do I want this community to now work? How do I want my experiences to now work? You do need to take, and it doesn't have to be a lot of time during a day. But if it's consistent time, if it's meant, and if it is like, this is what I expect to see from now on, you will start to see changes.
It'll manifest.
Yes, you have to. That's one of our biggest phrases: deny the known and manifest differently. People think that you have to spend all of this time in meditation. No one has time for that. Okay? You do not have to spend all this time in meditation. You need to spend a little bit of time. You need to think about it. You need to put it out there, and you need to not end it with a question mark. It needs to be solid. It needs to be repeatable. It needs to be. So again, one of the easiest things to do is that you will see every now and then in your own society people doing good things. You may see kids playing in the park and families out. You may see local ball games going on. You take a moment and you give your approval that this is what you want to see, this type of happiness in people's lives. The communal happiness. Do you see what I mean?
Absolutely.
But you've got to take the moment to do that in order to, reiterate that point. And so, again, it's so hard for this little bit of time, but I want to point out just little teeny itty bitty things that people can start to change their lives and their community lives by, again, understanding the oppression that's going on, and by trying to dust yourself off, break away from it, and then spending a little bit of time every day
meditating,
working on your expectation of what will be occurring in the future, and saying no now to a lot of things that others are trying to co-create and use your energies for.
So that makes sense. You need to say no. You need to set that intention. You need to do a little bit of meditation. Not everybody needs a lot of meditation, just a balanced life, and really to set that intention and really set it. And Chris, I see you're wearing, is that amber?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this amber is actually a good grounding and healing stone. What ends up taking place with amber is, I use it in a lot of things. I use it like burn amber, frankincense, and myrrh. We have a fire pit right out here.
Oh.
It actually works really well with clearing a property if you get the smoke going. And many people don't really associate it with burning, but
you burn it.
Yeah, they burn it. What you do is you take little bits of the resin. I don't have any of the other two here, but this, I don't burn this one. I wear this one. But,
it looks like it's very pretty. And I know you're speaking positivity here. You're raising awareness to a situation that most of the world is unaware of. And you're raising the vibration by putting out positive words out there. And you're doing it, letting us know to ground, let us know to set our intention, let us know to live in the power of now, the present moment. And also you've mentioned things like shungite. And when I met you guys, you had the shungite little thing for your phone. Can you talk a little bit more about protection and how people can protect themselves using these different methods?
Yes, shungite in particular, I notice is actually quite good at blocking the 5G radiation and blocking the harmful effects of the devices, as well as keeping away different negative entities. I know different negative entities require different, kind of antigens to keep them away. Certain ones require hard water, while other ones require amber, frankincense, and myrrh. Other ones are other plant materials like sage, and other stones as well, like amethyst, shungite, hematite, stones like this. Well, the shungite is one of the most versatile, non-corruptible elements that I've ever seen. Silver is another non-corruptible. And what I mean by non-corruptible is that even if some evil tried to get near it and use it for something, they're not going to be able to. I've noticed that certain non-corruptible ones are like fats within the energetic spectrum. There's very few of those, surprisingly. And shungite, amethyst is another one. Amber is another one. And silver, yes. And just like I have these silver coins sitting right next to it. These are just ones you can buy online.
And it looks like it plastic over it.
Yeah, I put there's plastic to keep it shiny, but
okay, it's very shiny.
Yeah, and it actually works best when it's clean like that. I mean, I could take it out and just let it tarnish, but which I have done. But I did notice the energy is best when it's brightest. That's why I keep one of those plastics. But if you really want to have the protective quality of it when you're going out, have the bear coin with you. I've noticed, or have like a hat. Some people have the cowboy hats with the coins and stuff on them. And I've noticed that that's a very good protection method. And silver and shungite together work incredibly well together. In fact, they kind of fuse. If you put them together in the same container, you'll notice over time one will fuse with the other one after a while.
Really?
So,
like magnets.
yeah, and they will literally, the silver will literally go inside the shungite. It will soak into the shungite, I've seen. And gold does the same thing. Gold is another non-corruptible element, I've noticed. But silver is great for demonic things, like getting rid of even rogue cryptids that are nasty, too. I've noticed this as well. Different dimensional beings. But when I do the burnings outside, I'm actually declaring that negative energies and negative entities, be gone from the property, like you would with something like a sage bundle, like one of these, for instance.
Sage.
And so I set it up outside as a fire pit, as a conduit, or not a conduit, excuse me, a focal point, by which then that's a protection cornerstone for the property. And from that point, you form a crystal grid around the property. I have bits of crystal we got when we were in Arizona, and I planned them as a crystal grid in like a grid formation. Within that grid, I have some of our magnetic orgone pieces. These are the shungite cupcake ones that you saw us with at the conference. And I put those in place. Therefore, it makes a dome over the property. It starts to absorb all the junk radioactivity and then makes this dome. The ones that are not magnetic are ones that basically are still putting out an energy like that, but they're more absorbers.
Okay.
They're more transmuters in that way. Amber, if you have like an attachment of some kind, some of the attachments that people get are these little insect-looking things that wrap around their spines and stuff like that in the etherical, and also in their chest and whatnot. If you have some kind of energy that's trapped somewhere, amber's good at sucking that out like a sponge and transmuting it. It's an excellent element, and then what you do is you can take that chunk and burn that off, and it transmutes it even further if you want to go that far. Amber's not cheap, mind you, to do that, but it is an excellent element to do that with. I've worked with amber quite a bit, and I've even combined it with shungite, and the two are actually quite good together for healings and cleansings. And I've done all sorts of different orgone pieces. And actually, I have a piece of amber sitting right here on the.
You said amber?
Yeah, this is a raw chunk right here.
Oh, and, wow, it's huge.
Yeah, these are actually really good. If you crunch up those and put them in pieces, like I've done that with some of the Sasquatch statues, for instance. I have a few of the blonde-colored Sasquatch statues that are. Since I work with the colors of the forest people, they actually, some of them wanted me to make blonde-colored ones with the shungite nuggets in the center with the amber coloring that's in there. And I just powderize it and put it in there, and it becomes yellowy blonde color.
Oh.
So, yeah, and I made all sorts of orgone pieces that are combinations of it. I've even used Sedona dirt in mix with shungite, and it actually works quite well with red iron oxide.
Is that for the grid?
Mm-hmm, yeah, and that's also for the grid. And I put that on the property. I put some people have given me some Sedona dirt and dirt from Valley of Fire, Nevada. Also, it's the same ingredient, red iron oxide and clay, mixed with the crystal grid. We have it all over the place here.
Cool.
And
we have it. There's an Etsy store on the lifting.net, but right now, because we've been doing some fairs, and as you know, we kind of take the things with us to show. A lot of stuff isn't up there right now. We hope to build up some more stock. But if anybody was interested, then Chris also makes some things to order for people. He tries to get an idea of what size property, what are you talking about? Because again, the one thing about this is that there can be too much of a good thing. You want to find the right balance of what you need. You don't want too much of it because it can affect you and your neurological system. So it's all about, again, the goal is to create a balance around you, so you're basically more in a good temple space with getting rid of some of the interference, so that you can have peace and work on yourself a little bit more, and that's the goal of it. But on the lifting.net, there is an Etsy store, although right now because we've been doing some fairs and different things. And we love it at fairs because there's a lot of people that are energy sensitive. They find their way to our table because they're like, what is going on here?
I found
And
my
so,
way to your table.
right. And so we love to, we love to be able to share that. But again, I know we're running short on time. What we do is not about putting people in fear. It's all about empowerment, understanding the world around you more. We do like to channel and have conversations with other beings as well, and get their perspective of what's going on from their perspective. And there is a galactic world out there, but I think everyone's starting to realize that now. It's more than just us. I wish I could say that they were somehow perfected and we're going there, but it's really so is below, so is above. It's, there's as much drama going on out there as people think there's drama going on here. But there
Sure.
are some basics, and we are heading into the path of becoming what we refer to as a pre-galactic society. For many young people, it will, some things will absolutely occur within their lifetime.
Yeah.
And things in the next 25 years are going to look a lot different in a better way than they do right now. But right now, we're in the muck of it, where people really need to learn what's going on, really need to take charge with their intention of what we want to see happen, because we've already circled the toilet. We don't need to do it again. We need a new experience of coming out of it, of again having the basics. And for people that feel alone, that they can't talk about anyone about this, that they have family members, again, think about the basics that you can all agree with. Who believes in child trafficking? Who believes in these other different things? What you will find is that you will find a lot of commonality of basic belief systems. Do not feel the need that you need to get people to expand. They're going to expand at their own rate.
Yeah.
Get people to remember what you all actually agree upon and what you see.
Very
Usually
true.
starting with the children is one of those areas that pretty much everyone can agree with, and have those conversations where you're everyone around the table. No, I don't want to see this happen. No, I don't want school shootings. No, I want children to be protected. I want children to have good educations. Do you see what I mean?
Universal factors.
Universal things, and because that's also been forgotten. They've gotten so many people, even in families, to so much fight that you forget what you're actually unified about.
Exactly.
And so people need to come back to that at the dinner table and talk about things and listen to each other and want to hear people's day and want to support them. And that, whether someone is spiritual or not, will do more for the benefit of society and people's energies than anything else.
Well, thank you for that. And if anybody, you said some things are not up on your website right now. So if they did want to get any of this stuff that you make, like, would they be able to email you about it, or is it something supply and demand, or what's the situation?
I make those magnetic tower busters basically on demand. I don't keep a whole lot of stock of those. So if people want me to make any of them, want to have me create some, just send an email to thelifting@proton.me, and I will be able to work on that if somebody wants to order that. Now, I do have some Sasquatch busts. They're not up on Etsy right now, but if somebody's interested and wants to see a few of them, yeah, I'll be happy to do that. But I will be making more for the next conference or fair we're going to as well.
Okay.
So yeah, that's how they can get a hold of me if they want to order.
And do you want to tell people how they can support you and which conference and fair, if they want to meet you there, and just where to find your work?
Mm-hmm. Yes, on the lifting.net, that's our main website, and then our sister website is gic.show. That is a subscription-based website where we have our galactic historical material over there. And the different fairs, I believe we have one in January, but well, the closer it gets, we can actually advertise that one.
Right. So basically, it would be just go to thelifting.net. You're going to see a lot of episodes, and you know how you see the 3 dots, meaning there's more. Click on that, and they're going to see subsections, conversations. You're going to see We love talking to people. Say Sasquatch, we call them the forest people. Love talking to them. There's a friend that Chris has. They love to do conspiracy kind of conversations.
Conspiracy sector, and then we have the world of Sasquatch as well. So it's Galactic Interversal Consortium, the Lifting, Conspiracy Sector, and the world of Sasquatch.
And there are hundreds of things to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you for that. And is there anything else that you'd like to share with us, with the audience, before you go?
Yeah, again, we are all here, not by mistake, at this moment in time. It is rough. It is rough on everyone right now. Please understand that. It really, really is hard out there. Be kind to one another. If you could choose to do anything, just be kind. Remember what it is like to open the door, to have eye contact, and to say hi. Okay? And to mean it in a caring, loving way. Remind yourself of who you are, because there's a lot that's been out there to try and destroy and to keep people separated. We have to slowly come now back together, and you will be surprised how many like-minded people there are out there if you choose to want to attempt to re-engage with people. It's not what the news is saying. So, say no to news, try to help re-engage with people. Have simple conversations, be supportive to one another, and put your intention out to the world that you want to see, and you will start to see these changes. But a lot of changes are going to be occurring here. And again, deny the known and manifest differently.
Very well spoken. Thank you for that, Joanna, and thank you, Chris.
Yes, also we should probably show people how to close the circle if we're coming up at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah. If we could do that.
So what we do at the end of our shows, when we do lifting shows, GICs, any of them, we do some variation of, I now close this circle within true benevolence and no conflicting agendas as of this moment in time. The same as the opening, but then you're essentially shutting that door. It's very important in all sections and anything you're doing that has to do with energy work, even explanations of energy work. Open circle, closed circle. And it's always important to do that. Then you have virtually no blowback that comes back from any of that, or any backwash that would come through an open doorway anywhere. Like if you would leave the door open, if it had bad weather outside, or if you had your air conditioning on, it was hot out. Are you going to let the heat in? No. So that's essentially what you're doing. You have an open conduit, and you're just shutting the door. Is really what it is.
All right, so we're closing the circle right now.
Yes. Yep. That's it.
All right. Well, thank you, Joanna, and thank you, Chris, for closing the circle, and thank you for opening it and closing it and making it come full circle. And thank you for being on here, thelifting.net. You guys definitely check out both of their websites and support them. And thank you so much. Bye for now.